At 02:15 a.m., a Ukrainian drone unit was preparing for a routine strike on a fuel depot when suddenly a priority flash message from intelligence changed everything. They weren't hunting oil anymore. They were hunting a target that just landed at Moscow's international airport. This discovery just turned a standard harassment mission into a suicide run against the densest air defense network in Russia. Based on the radar sweeps, they have exactly 87 seconds to navigate a kill zone of Pantsir missiles before $40 million of lethal cargo disappears into the Russian stockpile forever. 10 minutes ago, the flight path was pre-programmed for a fuel storage facility on the outskirts of Moscow. A low-risk target to burn some Russian cash, but war doesn't care about your schedule. The alert from US satellite intelligence came in hot. A cargo plane from Tehran had just touched down at Vnukovo. It was Fath-360 close-range ballistic missiles and crates of Shahed components. Iran was begging for cash, Putin was begging for ammo, and they decided to do the deal right in the middle of a civilian logistics hub. Ghost had exactly 45 minutes to rewire the entire mission. The target was no longer a stationary tank in the woods. It was a cluster of containers sitting 17 miles from the city center, surrounded by the most paranoid air defense operators on the planet. He wasn't just changing coordinates, he was changing the rules of engagement. Ghost taps the commit key. On his screen, the telemetry reads green. 10 drones, disguised in the back of a civilian truck parked just outside the city limits, launch into the freezing night air. These are hybrid FPVs weighing just 55 pounds each, carrying thermobaric warheads taped together with ingenuity and spite. The flight computer drops the swarm to 50 feet. They aren't flying over the airport, they are flying through it. The plan is insane but brilliant. Use the airport's own infrastructure as a shield. The drones hug the tarmac, weaving behind terminal buildings and using the massive aluminum bodies of parked Boeing and Airbus jets for terrain masking. To the Russian radar operators, the screen is a mess of ground clutter. They see blips, sure. But are they attack drones or just luggage trucks and taxiing aircraft? In the 87 seconds it takes them to figure that out, the war will already be over. At 03:08 a.m., the Pantsir S1 battery protecting the southern approach finally stopped hitting the snooze button. Its 1RS-21E gravestone radar, a piece of hardware designed to track fighter jets at 20 miles, picked up the lead drone intentionally flying at a suicidal altitude of 300 feet. Inside the Russian command vehicle, the acquisition tone wasn't a warning, it was a scream. The Russian operator didn't hesitate. Two 57E6 two-stage missiles roared off the rails, accelerating to 2,900 miles per hour in under 2 seconds. Physics is brutal at that speed. The 44-pound warhead didn't just destroy the scout drone, it vaporized it, turning the cheap plastic frame into a cloud of carbon fiber confetti and burning lithium. But this was a calculated sacrifice, a magic trick played with high explosives. The explosion created a massive thermal bloom and a radar-reflecting cloud of debris that blinded the sensors for 3 critical seconds. Behind that smoke curtain, the remaining 9 drones dropped to the deck. They were moving like drunk mosquitoes, hugging the tarmac at just 15 feet, putting the massive aluminum bodies of parked Boeing 737s between themselves and the kill chain. Now the Tor M2 system joined the fight, its phased array radar spinning up to find the intruders. This system can theoretically track 48 targets simultaneously, but at Vnukovo, the computer began to choke. The radar returns from the low-flying drones were indistinguishable from the ground clutter of luggage carts, fuel trucks, and terminal buildings. The Russian commander screamed to kill the civilian radar feed to clear the noise, but in the world of modern warfare, if you have to ask for a setting change, you are already dead. At 03:09 a.m., the Russian electronic warfare commander finally plays his ace. He slams his fist onto the active button of the Krasuka 4 system. Instantly, a broadband jamming signal floods the airport, powerful enough to fry the guidance chips of a standard cruise missile. On the tactical display, the Pantsir operator relaxes. It's the classic game of whack-a-mole, and they just brought a sledgehammer to the table. Inside Ghost's bunker, the video feed flickers violently. Horizontal lines of static cut across the screen. The GPS indicator flashes red and dies. But Ghost doesn't panic, he smiles. With a flick of his thumb, he engages the secondary drive. Under the belly of the lead drone, a small plastic spool begins to spin at 4,000 RPM. A microfilament of fiber-optic cable thinner than a human hair unspools into the night air. Suddenly, the static on Ghost's screen vanishes. The video feed snaps back to crystal clear 4K resolution. The Russians are blasting enough electromagnetic noise to deafen a satellite, but they can't jam a beam of light traveling inside a glass thread. The drone ignores the chaos, cutting through the electronic storm like a shark through water, tethered to its master by an unbreakable leash of light. At 03:10 a.m., the Russian Tor M2 operator realizes his radar screen is nothing but digital ghosts. He abandons the jammed electronics and slams the system into optical tracking mode. Through the grainy thermal camera, he spots the heat signature of drone number 4's battery pack burning hot against the freezing tarmac. He doesn't wait for a locked tone. He fires. The 9M331 missile screams off the rail, closing the distance in blink of an eye time. The proximity fuse detects the plastic frame and detonates a 30-pound fragmentation warhead just 15 feet in front of the target. The explosion doesn't just erase Drone 4. The blast wave atomizes the drone's lithium-ion battery pack, instantly igniting a thick, oily wall of black smoke and white-hot chemical fire right in the flight path of the trailing swarm. Inside the Ukrainian bunker, the crystal-clear fiber-optic feed from drones 5 and 6 instantly flatlines. The screens don't go black, they turn into a gray, featureless void. The fiber-optic cable is immune to jamming, but a 4K camera is useless if it is staring into a chemical smokescreen. Deprived of visual reference points, the onboard optical flow sensors panic. The flight computers struggle to calculate velocity. Drones 5 and 6 begin to drift. They veer 10 degrees to the right. They are no longer hunting the cargo. They are now on a collision course with the glass facade of Terminal A, where hundreds of civilians are waiting for delayed flights. A strike here doesn't just kill innocents, it kills Western political support for the entire war. On the ground, the Russian Pantsir crews are helpless. Their hydraulic loading arms whine as they try to ram fresh missiles into empty tubes, but mechanics cannot compete with physics. The reload cycle takes minutes. The drones cover football fields in seconds. Ghost sees the telemetry flashing red. He has zero visibility. He has less than 3 seconds before impact. He starts doing math. He engages the Dead Reckoning protocol. The drone's internal inertial measurement unit stops looking for the ground and starts calculating positions solely based on the integration of acceleration over time. A text update from the partisan spotter flashes on the side monitor. Wind 6 Mahwad northeast. Ghost slams the control stick. He executes a blind manual override, forcing a hard bank to the left, a correction of exactly 3.6 degrees based on pure calculation. Inside the VIP lounge of Terminal A, a businessman looking out the window flinches. 2 black shapes scream past the glass, clearing the structure by less than 10 feet. The drones slice through the edge of the smoke cloud and emerge into clear air, the target containers suddenly snapping back into focus on the operator's screen like coffins waiting to be nailed shut. At 03:11 a.m., T-minus 12 seconds, the fiber optic feed stabilizes into a terrifyingly clear 4K image, stripping away the anonymity of the war. The digital zoom kicks in, revealing the black stenciled lettering on the side of the wooden crates. The origin stamp reads, Tehran, physically confirming that the lethal aid meant to level Ukrainian apartments is sitting right there on the Russian tarmac. Inside the bunker, the atmosphere shifts from controlled chaos to absolute suffocating focus. Ghost doesn't say a word. He simply leans forward, his knuckles turning white as he squeezes the controller, channeling every ounce of rage and precision into the thumbsticks. On the ground, the Russian defense grid finally admits defeat. The Pantsir system, a masterpiece of engineering, becomes a useless paperweight. The hydraulic autoloader is still cycling, the mechanical arm moving with agonizing slowness as it tries to rack a fresh missile. It needs 15 seconds to reset. Physics has only granted it 4. The ground crew stops running. They look up, freezing in place as the high-pitched whine of electric motors drops in pitch, signaling the terminal dive. The lead drone stops floating and starts falling. Ghost jams the throttle to maximum, pushing the electric motors to their thermal limit. The velocity climbs past 90 miles per hour, transforming the surveillance platform into a kinetic missile. The target expands rapidly, consuming the entire field of view. The hangar, the tarmac, and the city lights vanish, leaving only the wooden grain of the Iranian crates rushing forward to meet the camera lens. 8 seconds. The Farsi letters blur. 3 seconds. The video feed freezes. At 03:17 a.m., the lead drone slams into the center container with surgical violence. The 11-pound thermobaric warhead doesn't detonate immediately upon contact. Instead, it functions exactly as the Ukrainian engineers designed. For a fraction of a millisecond, the casing shatters, dispersing a fine aerosol cloud of high-energy fuel that saturates the air inside the wooden crate. Then, the igniter fires. The result isn't a simple explosion, it is a pressure event. A 3,000 psi shockwave expands outward at supersonic speed, liquefying the wooden container and treating the quarter-inch steel walls of the adjacent shipping crates like wet cardboard. But the true devastation comes from the secondary effects. The initial blast acts as a primer for a catastrophic chain reaction known as sympathetic detonation. Inside the shattered containers, the solid rocket propellant of the Iranian Fath-360 missiles is exposed to the thermal shock. Solid fuel doesn't need oxygen from the air to burn, it brings its own. Within 0.4 seconds, the propellant ignites, burning at 4,500 degrees Fahrenheit. The tightly packed missiles transform from dormant weapons into uncontrollable thrusters. The cargo area of Vnukovo Airport vanishes inside a rapidly expanding fireball. The shockwave ripples outward, shattering the glass of the VIP terminal Ghost had narrowly avoided just seconds earlier. The heat is so intense that it doesn't just destroy the Shahed guidance components. It atomizes the silicon and fuses the copper wiring into unrecognizable slag. By the time the sun rises over Moscow, the Maxar commercial satellites passing overhead capture the full scale of the humiliation. Where the east hangar once stood, there is now only a blackened, smoking scar on the concrete. The cleanup crews are spraying foam on twisted metal that used to be Tehran's finest military technology. Vnukovo International Airport is forced into a complete shutdown for 7 hours. 250 flights are canceled or diverted, sending a ripple of economic chaos through the Russian capital that costs millions more in lost productivity. The economic calculus of the strike is staggering. The entire Ukrainian operation, including the drones, the smuggling logistics, and the Starlink data plan, cost less than $50,000. In exchange, they vaporized $40 million in ballistic missiles, humiliated the Russian air defense grid, and sent a message that no insurance company can ignore. Iran knelt to give Putin a lifeline. Ukraine cut the rope. The lesson for the Kremlin is brutal and simple. You cannot hide the logistics of war behind civilian infrastructure when your enemy has the eyes of American satellites, the ears of local partisans, and the ingenuity to turn hobbyist electronics into precision-guided munitions. The math will never work in Russia's favor.